With the end of its feudalism, British capitalism came into power. The modern Britain witnessed the rise and fall of British Empire and saw the great changes in the three industrial revolutions. Today, we'll discuss how the three industrial revolutions impact on the rise and fall of Great Britain. The Industrial Revolution, now also known as the First Industrial Revolution, is marked with steam power and mechanization. It's an age of steam. It began in Great Britain and spread across Europe and America between the 18th century and the 19th century. In the 18th century, a great change occurred in Britain. Britain became an industrialized country and the most powerful empire. Steam engines powered factories and drove the trains and the ships to much longer distance than ever before. The British Navy was strengthened and the country was industrialized. That helped greatly in English colonial expansion. Meanwhile, the expansion supplied more laborers, more markets, and more raw materials to the empire. The first industrial revolution turned Britain into the workshop of the world. English products flooded to the world market. No country was strong enough to match England in the 19th century. British citizens were encouraged by economic prosperity and better living conditions. They were proud of being as British citizens. In summary, the first industrial revolution had forever changed Britain and later the world. At the same time, the empire provided peace and enough resources so that the industrialization could go smoothly. If either of them had failed, then it would have led to the fall of the British Empire. And this did happen in the 20th century. The Second Industrial Revolution, or Technological Revolution, lasted from 1870s to the beginning of the First World War in 1914. It's an age of electricity. It focused on development of electricity, improvement of steel, and use of the chemicals, automobiles, and so on. Different types of machines were introduced, and the aircraft was developed. Mass production emerged. It was a time of change and progress that increased global technology. The Second Industrial Revolution took place primarily in Britain and other European countries, the United States, and Japan. Great Britain remained dominant at the beginning. By the early 20th century, European nations and the United States had been industrialized, and the whole world had entered the period of imperialism. What happened in Britain? Various shortcomings caused by the First Industrial Revolution came to emerge. By the 1870s, Germany's industrial output came to surpass that of Britain, especially in heavy industry. Britain's dominance was challenged for the first time. British economic development slowed down and later dropped behind Germany and the USA. Such decline lasted and got even worse in the two world wars. Hello, welcome to the Third Industrial Revolution. the digital revolution. We are experiencing some of the wonders of the digital revolution right now. We are enjoying the cloud, the internet, and the kind of handy devices that make you access both of the two. And I'm guessing you are having this class on your phone. Thanks the third industrial revolution for providing us such wonderful things. Beginning in the 1950s, the third industrial revolution brought semiconductors, nuclear power, personal computers, and the internet in the world. It began in the United States, a country free from the damage of the two world wars. It's a global revolution of science and technology. Let's get back to Great Britain in this revolution to see what happened. After World War II, when the third industrial revolution took place, most of the Britain's colonies demanded and fought for independence. The British Empire fell and was replaced by the United States. Britain took a long time to recover from the cost of the wars. That's why the third industrial revolution made its appearance first in the USA instead of Britain. Britain had left behind and got even worse thereafter. Great Britain emerged after World War II as one of the big three. The other two bigger ones were the United States and the Soviet Union. Today, it may unfortunately become one of the big five. Facts speak louder than words. It's natural to conclude that the three industrial revolutions are meaningful, indispensable, and to some extent, decisive to Great Britain. Okay, this is the end of the British history. Bye-bye.
In their longships with their nice horned helmets, or maybe without the horned helmet. But what did the Vikings actually do in England? What's the history of the Vikings in England? Before the Vikings arrived, England was home to a plethora of Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. The population was largely Christian, having been converted some centuries before, and there were hardly any towns. Indeed, most people lived out on the countryside following an agricultural way of life. The first real Viking attack came in AD 793 with the attack on the Northumbrian monastery at Lindisfarne, where heathen men showed up, pillaged the monastery, took many of the monks prisoner. This was not the first, and in the following year the Northumbrian twin monasteries at Monkwearmouth and Jarrow were pillaged, followed by other attacks on Sheppey, Canterbury and London, as well as Winchester. Now in the year AD 865, the nature of these attacks, many of whom were carried out by Danish Vikings, changed when an invasion army landed in East Anglia, under the flag of the Flying Raven. These were led by the legendary sons of Ragnar Lothbrok, Ivar the Boneless, Ubba the Frisian, Bagseg, Guthrum, and Halfdan of the Wide Embrace, to name a few. They put up a good fight, the Anglo-Saxons, against this new invasion, but ultimately they could do little to stop the Danes from taking their lands, and soon, one by one, the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms fell. Only the southwestern kingdom of Wessex, soon to be ruled by Alfred the Great, was able to hold out against the Danish invaders, fighting in 878 a crucial battle against the Great Heathen Army at a place called Ettington, securing the future of his own kingdom in doing so. After this, there was a treaty signed at a place called Wedmore, dividing the land in two, giving the Danes the north and the east of the country, while the Saxons would control the other half of Mercia and Wessex, which they still held out against the Danes. Now the northern lands would become known as the Danelaw, and in the Danelaw these warriors who had come. Now Halfdan, of course, was giving his warriors their rewards for fighting for him, and it's in this that afterwards they sent for their wives and children back home in Denmark, and a whole influx of a new Norse community came to England, which would forever alter the DNA and the cultural makeup of England. Now this land, the Danelaw, can be further split into several parts. There are 5 boroughs of Lincoln, Nottingham, Derby, Leicester and Stamford, which became known collectively as the 5 boroughs, the bigger towns in the area in the Midlands today. To the north, York was the big city that dominated the scene and would become incredibly important for the Norsemen there, and the area around here became known as the Kingdom of York. while in the southeast, in East Anglia, this became a new Norse kingdom of East Anglia ruled by Guthrum, who would later, after the Treaty of Wedmore, become known as Athelstan and converted to Christianity. The areas of the Danelaw, with their new influx of Danish, mostly Danish, and some Norwegian inhabitants, saw a great influx between the culture of the Anglo-Saxons who still lived in these regions, and a great intermingling occurred, with Anglo-Saxons marrying Danes and vice versa, and this created a new culture and a new people